What is happening, people, and welcome back to the Scarfe Spurs Talk podcast. In this week's episode, we're talking all things England as England lose in the final of the Euros 2024. So I am joined by a great panel, some potentially joining later. Firstly, making his debut, Alfie, how you doing?
Good, thank you. Yeah, happy to be on.
No, thank you very much for giving me your time this evening and hope you enjoy it. Kallum, welcome back. How you doing?
I wish I weren't here, mate. After last night, I wish I weren't here. But no, I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me on as always.
No, again, thank you very much for coming on. I've done it just for you, Kallum, to put you through it again after last night.
You promised me transfer news last week. You promised me a transfer show. Yeah, you promised me a transfer show. You conned me. You conned me into this.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to lie. I didn't realise the Euros final was going to be the same week as the Netherlands game. So there we go. We'll blame the FA for the fixture scheduling, if you like, and the TV companies. But no, thank you very much for joining me this evening. If you use the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It's free to do so, and it helps the channel and the podcast grow. If you're listening on a podcast platform, don't forget to give us a follow and a 5-star review. But let's crack straight into it. And Kallum, actually, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the lineup before the game? I know it's really, really hard to think back now, obviously, after everything we've seen, which we'll get into. But Shaw was the only change coming in for Trippier. Did you see that coming? Would you have changed anything else as well?
I think that's the one thing that I'd been calling for the last 6 weeks or so, to actually see a natural left-sided player play there. So, no, I was quite happy with the lineup within reason. I thought there was enough in there probably to give the Spanish a go from that, and maybe seeing Kane dropped after Watkins had done so well in the week. But apart from that, maybe Palmer for Foden. But not many changes, to be honest. And Southgate's a creature of habit, so he sticks with what he knows, and he doesn't like to change it up at all. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty strong lineup within reason.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Alfie, do you feel similar in terms of that's the line that was kind of expected and you were satisfied with it?
Yeah, I mean, I saw earlier in the week. I think it was rumoured until like literally the day before that Trippier would start, and that did worry me a bit. Up against Nico Williams as well. I mean, I think even though Yamal's age, obviously 17, has sort of drawn a lot of attention to him, I think Williams has been just as good or even not better. And even though he scored against obviously Shaw there on the weekend, and Yamal going against him as well, I think bringing in Shaw was the right move to do. And then there's obviously a lot of calls for Kane to be dropped, but I think even as though he does seem like he's not 100%, he might be a little bit injured. I felt in the first half, if there was a chance to drop to him, you wouldn't have anyone else in world football in the box rather than Harry Kane. So even just putting him in the box just for a deadly finish, I mean, I understood the move. But obviously him coming off after 60 minutes again didn't shock me. I mean, I believe, I know it hasn't been confirmed, but he plays and seems like he's injured. You don't bring Kane off after 60 minutes if he isn't injured. So I think, but from the start, I think it was pretty much bang on.
Okay, no, thank you very much. Yeah, I was under that kind of same impression. I'm thinking, we could give Gordon a go, we could give Palmer a go, but realistically, that's the lineup we expected. It's hard to fit, all that talent in attacking. We are sport for choice in that kind of area of the field, if you like. But Alfie, staying with you, because not a lot happened in the first half because it was 0-0. So what did you make of it? Do you think England done well defensively to keep like Williams and Yamal quiet?
Yeah, I think that they've been all over us sort of in the first half, really. But I expected them to dominate. I mean, that's what's been done the whole tournament. I wasn't really surprised to see what happened in the first half, but I thought we did well to limit their clear cut chances. Going back, I can't really think of many chances where I was sort of on the edge of my seat thinking this could go in, this could be 1-0 down. And in the game, obviously against Italy a few years ago, we went 1-0 up straight away. We started out the blocks a lot quicker than we did this game. I feel that the start of the game sort of did help us. It was more managed well, in my opinion. It was the last game we played in the final did seem a bit like a group of young players, a group of players that had a lot of expectation on them, sort of just flying out the blocks, getting that goal, and then they sort of looked lost with it. So I wasn't too upset with the first half. I thought it was as expected. And I think we did pretty well defensively, as we have done most tournament, to be honest, to keep down the low clear cut chances they've had for the opposition. Because I mean, some of the attacking threat they have, as they've shown in the second half, they'll just punish us. So I think it wasn't too much criticism from me in the first half from Southgate in England, really.
No, I agree. I thought we'd done our job well, and we had a good fight, if you like, in that first half. It could have easily that game could have we could have approached it the wrong way, went for it, and been really open. That's the thing, and we all talk about like unenjoyable way of playing, if you like, and I do agree to a large extent. But this is a case of where I think you have to defend and you have to stop Spain doing what they've done best, because they've ripped apart pretty much every team they played in the tournament. So I thought we've done really well. So I'm in agreement with you. Kallum, something tells me you won't agree. But what did you think of the first half?
First half, we actually had good spells, I thought. The problem was Spain controlled the ball too much for me. They still had too much possession. We wasn't stepping up enough towards them. But I would have said that realistically, we probably had the better chances, I think, towards the end of the first half. And we was kind of in the ascendancy within reason. Foden was getting some good space. Saka was getting some luck down against Kukurea for the first time. Shaw was actually quite solid on the left-hand side. Yamal, to be honest, Yamal didn't really do nothing last night at all. I don't think Shaw kind of controlled him quite well. So I think it was getting there that we had something going forward, but I still think we didn't look up for it. We didn't look ready to go for it. And I think by half time, I was hoping that Southgate would get them in there and go, look, you're doing well, but you need to go at them more. You need to start chomping at them. You need to start pretty much biting them and all that and going for it. And my hope was that after being God knows how many pints down, that my vision wasn't getting blurry and that something was happening correctly. But obviously it didn't go that way.
No, clearly not. But there we go. Alfie, Spain took the lead second half, 47th minute, so quite quick after the restart. Nico Williams with the opener. Is that a case of, for you, a really good move from Spain? Obviously, good finish by Williams. Or do you look at it and kind of go poor defensively? Because I don't know about you, I'd only just come in the room and I looked up and I was like, the space that Williams has got. I mean, if for me, it felt like it was impossible for him to miss. So what were you kind of thinking after Spain got the opener?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about yourself just going in the room. I mean, I was just sitting down and feel like I was just getting ready, and I feel like the England squad were basically just getting ready as well. They'd completely switched off, I think. As I did about the first half compared to the first half 3 years ago, I mean, I think maybe the players went in and felt a bit more confident than they did 3 years, even 3 years ago. Even though they had the lead, they knew Italy were a hard side and they'd get a goal back. I think it almost seemed inevitable. Whereas I think coming out the second half, maybe they're a bit too relaxed, they're a bit too happy with the result so far. And yeah, I mean, for me, there's too much space. Nico Williams, I mean, I've seen him a few times at this tournament. He just, when he has that space in behind, if the ball's there, he said he can't really miss. I mean, it was good finish in the end. He found the corner, but in a Euros final, in the stage that big, you can't be giving the players that much opportunity to put the ball away in the back of the net because they just will. The caliber of players is too high. And yeah, as much as I do like Walker, and I think there's been a good place for him in this England team at the right centre back. He's done a good job. I think maybe we start to see the age of Walker sort of creeping in a bit last night, especially with the second goal. But yeah, I mean, even when the first goal went in, I did hold out hope. I said I was pretty confident we would get a goal back, which we obviously did. But I just didn't expect us to concede that second goal as well.
No, fair enough. Yeah, again, we will get into that, but yeah, it was quite catastrophic. It's fair to say. But Callum, what were you thinking? Nico Williams, ball hits the back of the net. Is it both? Is it the fact he done really well to get in that position? So credit him, credit the attacker, but also England. What are we doing?
Problem is all of the successful Spain attacks came down the right hand side. So it was Walker showing his age, like Alfie said. It was Saka being a attacking wing back and not a wing back that was doing both sides. He was getting caught out of possession. He was getting caught in no man's land so much. And when you've got a player of sheer class like Nico Williams, I mean, Nico Williams makes Saka look like a poor man's God knows what and all that. And Saka's class as a player, but Williams has just been outstanding, and you can see why every club in Europe wants him, and whoever gets him will have a player and a half on their hands. But the whole problem was that we created our own issues in that game, and the whole lead up to the goal was down to England's problems. We didn't engage them enough in midfield. We then let them get out to the left-hand side, and just when you've got someone of Williams' class, you can't give them that much space. You can't give them that time on the ball. And at the end of the day, they just got a thunderbolt for it. But it's one of them that I think, based on how we had been through the tournament, not all hope was lost. But the fact was, since half-time, you'd think they'd be ready to go again and all that, and the problem was they looked like they was half asleep. They looked like they'd gone back to the team bus and they was already on their way back with BA and all that by that point, because there was no reaction. Spain were on the back foot at half time. They came out like a steam train. They was going. We just hadn't picked up. And I mean, what was it, 52, 53 minutes that Williams scored? So I mean, they had
even worse than that, 47th.
Oh, so literally it was straight away. So we'd even taken the kickoff and we hadn't even reacted. Spain were just there, and I think De La Fuente just kicked every Spanish player up the backside saying, "What's going on?" And Gareth's just gone, "Don't worry, we'll play for extra time. We'll do like how we have done and we'll get there." So, but there was hope after that one, but I think we'll go on to that later on.
We will, don't worry. And welcome him onto the podcast. Ian, how you doing?
Yeah, hi. How you doing, Harry? Hi, everybody. Yeah, can you see me okay? Because I've just gone on to the link using my mobile, on my phone. I can get on with another device, a better device, if you need it. But
no, it's
I'm
absolutely
sitting
fine.
here if you're in shadows because I'm in sunny Spain at the moment. It was quite a night in here.
Yeah.
Well, I have a place here, so it was good. It was a good atmosphere in and around. Of course, the fireworks and the car horns and what have you, as you'd expect. Probably a bit louder in Madrid and Barcelona and Valencia, etc. But no, it was a good night, even not the result that we wanted. I mean, I picked up the end of what Alfie was saying there. Disappointing, but to some extent, it would have done us better in a lot of respects if we'd come home early, because we were so abject in the way that we played the game. But on another day, maybe we win it, and it's like a bad team winning a bad tournament. That probably would have summed it up. But you guys all look younger than me. Danny Blanchflower, the I guess the mantra that our club is built on. People think the game's about winning. It's nothing of the kind. It's about going out and beating the other lot, not sitting back and waiting for them to die of boredom. And Gareth Southgate is the antithesis of the glory game. It's sitting back and waiting for the other team to die of boredom. And much as you're disappointed as an Englishman that we didn't win it, I can't say as a lover of football, and I mean that in the widest sense, that I'm sorry that the best team in the tournament and the better team on the night won the tournament. I don't think anybody can seriously complain about that at all. I said in the blurb when you said about can anyone help want to come on tonight. I'm incandescent with Harry Kane.
I believe
I think
Ian's
people need to stop covering for him and making excuses for him. I was in Madrid in 2019. I was staggered that he was selected, not only because he was manifestly unfit, but because how can you leave out? And all right, we've all had our issues with Lucas Moura, but Moura was absolutely on fire. He was superb in the quarterfinal against Manchester City at the Etihad. He was absolutely fabulous that night. And then the night in Amsterdam, that will, as long as people are talking about Tottenham Hotspur and football, that second half hat trick is absolutely immortal. And you say, what would Van Dijk prefer? Would he prefer a lumbering, half-fit Harry Kane trying to take him, or an informed, mobile, nimble, fast, dynamic Lucas Moura? No centre half in the world ever wants a fast, nimble, attacking forward, running at them at pace. And we had the same thing with Kane all through this tournament. He's clearly been labouring. His back's okay, but he's not got to the level. I genuinely don't think he's been fit all through the tournament. And I think, like Pochettino covered for him in the final in Madrid. I think Southgate has covered for him now. It's like no one can say no to him. We were a better side every time Kane went off. Every time. Didn't matter who he brought on. We were a better side. I don't think we had the right tactics, but that's a completely different story. The fact is lack of ambition and what have you. And I do hope Southgate leaves the job and leaves the job quickly. Just one last quick point before my rant's over, Harry, is that the FA are apparently really keen that Southgate carries on, and it's rather typical of them that they like someone who's intelligent, articulate, who portrays the image of the Football Association want portrayed, rather than someone that can actually do the job to the required standard. And we're squandering another golden age of English talent, and I mean I think it's very sad.
No, okay, no, fair enough, Ian. We will get into Gareth Southgate later and what his future looks like, because I think that is something that has to be discussed and has been discussed a lot over the last 24 hours or so. But I want to get back on track. And Kallum, I'll come to you. 73rd minute, Cole Palmer obviously just come on the pitch, scores with I think it's a fantastic strike. Did you believe then, Kallum? Because I certainly did. That brought it to life for me. And just how good was that strike from Cole Palmer?
It was brilliant. I mean, Cole Palmer has been a standout performer in the last 2 games. So if you had anyone that you hoped could come on and make a difference, you'd probably think it would have been him. So, yeah, such a piece of brilliance, I would say. And to actually beat the Spanish keeper with that shot was great. And I mean, the pub that I was in, literally, I came back and I smelt of beer and all that. Literally, the glasses went up in the air, the chairs went, everything went everywhere. So, I mean, it definitely got a lot of people celebrating, and that's what you was hoping. And from that, the vibe was back, the buzz was back in people. They felt like we could go on and do something, and I was the same. It definitely gave me hope that we could actually change something. But my hope was that in conjunction with us scoring that goal, Southgate would have made his changes to go at the Spanish, and that's where I think it fell short after that moment.
No, fair enough. Yeah, we will get into a bit of tactical analysis and in-game management from Southgate a bit later. But Alfie, same kind of question to you. Did you believe at that point? Because as I said to Callum, I certainly did. I didn't up until then, but that just seemed to always make you forget what happened before that in the game. And again, the strike, it's really, really good, wasn't it, from Palmer?
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising as well. This whole tournament, the foundations of England getting to the final have been built upon moments from special players. I mean, we've had it before. We've had great players, Gerrard and Rooney, Lampard, and this group of players seem to have a different sort of specialness to them, where they can get that moment, they can get us over the line. So it wasn't surprising to me when Palmer struck it at the back of the net, although the goal was immense. And as you said, the moment it provides is unbelievable. I mean, at that moment, like Callum said, I did have hope as well. And before the game, I sort of said to people, I believe that extra time is where we win the game. I felt almost that we did think that ourselves a bit as well. Towards the end of the game, we seemed to sat back a bit. That Palmer goal came in a moment of dominance from us. Really, we started to take hold of the game. We were getting more of a firmer grip of it, and that goal was obviously a wonder strike. But it was a result of just controlling the game and getting a bit more hope of the result turning our way as well. And I felt, if we did get to extra time, we have the players off the bench. Like everyone's been saying, the quality of our bench this year is unrivaled. Really, there's not a team in Europe that has, in the whole of the Euro, that has the same bench, the same depth and quality in every single position. That I felt if we got to that point, we'd bring on someone and they'd create another moment, because that is what's led us through the whole tournament, is these moments. So it wasn't a surprise. It did give me hope. I really did believe at that point when it went in that we'd get to extra time, and I think we'd get it over that point. So it was just a shame that the players, I think, fell into a bit of that false hope of getting to extra time too much and sort of laid back a little bit, sort of pretended it was a given, which you can't do against a Spain side that have been good that whole tournament. I mean, they're expertly coached, and we let them back into it really.
Yeah, it's such a shame, such a shame. We'll get into it and how it unravelled, but yeah, I think there's an opportunity missed there for sure. Ian, you've expressed your frustration, and I think you speak on behalf of several, if not majority, of England fans about your kind of feeling about Southgate, but generally on the night and how it unfolded. But for you, Cole Palmer, did you believe at that point, or was it always, you thought, this Spanish team is still very good?
When Palmer scored, I just thought we're going to do this. It's in the stars. We keep coming back from nowhere, and it was a beautifully constructed goal. It was so was the Spanish first goal. In fairness, of course, cold after the break, but all the goals were well constructed. But yeah, well, at the point we went to 1-1 there, I genuinely thought we'd go on and win the game. Funnily enough, Alfie saying there about winning the game in extra time. Yeah, my prediction was 2-2 full time, 3-2 England after extra time. And you think that little bagatelle and the headers and, with Stone's effort and what have you, that goes to 2-2. We're in there, we're in there again. But you notice again after the goal where once again we've seen Spurs teams do this as well, is you suddenly drop 5 yards and you go, why do you drop 5 yards? And particularly after we've taken Kane off, I think that part of the issue when you've got Kane, and you if you watch the first 2 minutes of that game, you can see that as soon as the Spanish have the ball, we drop. There is absolutely no attempt whatsoever to press the ball. None whatsoever. Sorry, my phone is flashing with Donald Trump's running mate, which is really important, but not for this discussion at this particular time. So I'm flicking it off so I can actually see the screen and who I'm talking to. And it was again that after we scored and we get to sort of 80 minutes and we're again camped on the edge of our box. The back four are there. The midfield players are, a few yards forward, and we're surrendering the initiative. And that just seems to be, that encapsulates to me the way Southgate plays. And it just annoys me because we have the players that were capable of taking the game by the scruff of the neck. And, as the boys are saying, there's no one on a bench like ours. And you actually saw when he made changes, he could not only freshen it up, he could improve it because he was bringing on really great players to replace other really good players. And excuse me. And as I say, we surrendering the initiative. I'd always rather we went out and had a go and lost trying than in the end what happened is we lost trying to defend our own 18-yard box. I don't get it with the players that we've got. I just don't understand it. I don't understand the mentality. And I think it's a shame for the players that we had. Having said that, it's not the tactics I would have played or the team I would have played. I thought this team was made. The players were made for 4-3-3, with Rice as the six, Bellingham and Foden, almost in a Spurs formation as the two number 8/10s. Saka wide right. I'd have actually played, funnily enough, Anthony Gordon wide left, and then I'd have played Palmer in the middle. And then you can, if it doesn't work, you can bring Bowen on wide right. You could bring Edzzy on wide left, or you could bring Tony or Watkins on in the centre. You could bring Gallagher on, in the middle. Edzzy on in the middle. The options are endless. Whether to just tweak it or to just go man for man replacement when if you need something. But I mean, my anger with Gareth Southgate is palpable, because I just think he has squandered a great inheritance. I know people will say, "Oh, look at him! What performance he's getting to England to the last four of the World Cup, to two European finals, Europa League finals, not Europa League."
Euros, yeah.
Yeah, nation. Yeah, I'm old enough to remember what it's called, the European Nations League. Um, and you just feel the legacy of those great players has been wasted. And I'm really disappointed.
No, okay, fair enough. My only counter argument, if you like, Ian, would be, 'cause you made it clear you wanted to be more front-footed. Let's use Spain as an example. Wouldn't that play into their hands, and players like Yamal and Nico Williams, with Spain being able to play on the break and us being open? Or do you think that Southgate has to have more trust in that defence? Because we saw a midfield that was very deep.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think two things. Yeah, of course. But the object of football's a simple game. If you score one more goal than the opposition, you win it. And they've got a serious problem. If we're attacking, what do Williams and Yamal do? If we've got Walker raising forward, we've got Shaw going forward, supporting, let's say, my team with Gallagher and Saka. You've still got the holding player there in Declan Rice. Where do they go? They've got the problem. And of course, if you're going to play that way, yeah, of course, the wide players have to track back. But Saka did really brilliantly as a sort of as a wing back. Gordon, we know. In fact, funnily enough, when we picked up Richarlison from Newcastle, and Conte was still the manager, I actually thought, wouldn't Anthony Gordon make a brilliant left wing back under Conte? Whether he'd have been a left back under Ange is another matter. But yeah, I think the players would have had to have worked. Of course, they'd have had to have worked. But we'd have scored goals. That team would have scored a lot of goals. Let the opposition worry about you.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair enough. Again, a lot of people do feel that way as well, so fair enough. But we will move on because third goal in the game, the second one for Spain comes in the 86th minute. Kallum, what were your thoughts at that point? Right, the whole nation absolutely devastated. Did you part of you still think, oh, we can get back into it? Is it like it's a missed opportunity? What were you just kind of thinking? 'Cause it's hard to sum up, isn't it? That thoughts when you know that the game's gone and that England have lost it.
I think at that point, a lot of people's hopes were dashed. I think I was one of the same, to be honest. It's definitely one of them where, like I said earlier, I hoped that there had been changes. I would have hoped we'd have been pressing Spain, going for them toe to toe, everything like that. As soon as we scored, we stepped off of them. We let them have all the play. They dictated the midfield. They was going at us, and it's only up to that point that Pickford had kept us in the game anyway.
Yeah.
And then obviously they get once again down the their left hand side and our right hand side. Saka's caught out possession. Walker doesn't track his man, and who was it? Oza. Oh God, I can't pronounce his name.
I can't say his name. I did look at it, and I said it deliberately. Didn't say it for a reason.
let's just say the Spanish Osman and all that. That's as close as you're going to get to it, to be honest. But I mean, someone like that, just another. He's pretty much the equivalent of Nico Williams at Sociedad instead of Bilbao. He's a class player. You don't give someone that much space, and it just kind of killed. It just killed everything from that point. We had no answer to the Spanish, to be honest, and I don't think we had an answer since Palmer scored his goal either. I don't think there was anything that gave me any hope, apart from maybe 1 or 2 minutes after Palmer scoring. And it's in that time that I would have hoped Southgate would have made some attacking subs, because I mean, within reason, Ollie Watkins, not really much had been done. Palmer was trying his best, but nothing was happening. And our defence had just been run ragged by that point. They all looked tired. They all looked dead. Walker looked like he literally was on a Zimmer frame by the end of it as well, by the way that he was walking. So, I mean, potentially maybe if you had someone like Trent in there, maybe he would have had the pace to pick it up. But when that goal went in, I think the whole country just stopped in a heartbeat. Let's put it that way. So it wasn't a good move. Let's put it that way, mate.
No, it certainly wasn't. Wherever you've been in the country at that point, I think all under the same kind of feeling. But Alfie, I will come to you. Is it, I don't like to blame individuals, but Walker there, has he got to do better for you? And just kind of sum up your thoughts if you can when the ball hits the back of the net and you look up to the clock, only 3-4 minutes to go, and that Spain, they're just not going to let a goal in.
Yeah, I think it's harsh for Walker. He's been a good servant for England, really. I mean, I think he's nearing 100 caps now, and he's obviously, I think he's been one of the best right backs in the world in the last few years. But I feel like this game was sort of one too far for him in an England shirt. Maybe he is declining now. I think he's 32. Is that right? Around that sort of age.
Yeah.
And when the ball went through, he just looked a little bit out of place, a little bit too slow. I mean, yeah, I think he was a bit unlucky with when the ball goes in. I mean, the ball was perfect. I initially thought it was offside as well. From a certain angle, it looked very, very close. I mean, I think they showed the replay of the automated offside, and it was literally a few shoe sizes away from being chalked off. And I mean, the ball was perfect, and the finish was just perfect as well. The way that Pickford was going the other way, it was a bit unlucky. Pickford just had to have a 50-50 choice really at that point of what way I think Ozra Razal was going to go, whatever his name is, and he unfortunately picked wrong. But I think we did put ourselves in that position really to go and lose the game. There was a moment, I think, around the 80th minute, which sort of embodied the attitude, which I think was just get to extra time. If we get a goal, then perfect. But let's just play until the 90 minutes is up, because I think it was Saka on the right wing. Sort of, he put his foot on the ball. He looked around, and he decided to go all the way back to Mark Gahey. Mark Gahey didn't know what to do either, went back to Pickford. And we've seen this multiple times, especially this tournament, when Pickford just lumps the ball long. And I think this time went all the way out of play for a goal kick. I mean, I just sat back in my chair at that point. I thought this is pure desperation from England at this point. And it does just embody the attitude we have in that final, I think. And I think it's a bit of maybe Southgate trying to be a bit more hardy as a manager. Obviously, he's had a few close comings with the Croatia semi-final and the Italy final a few years ago. That I think perhaps he got into the team that they need to be a bit more smarter, a bit more. I mean, even like Jose Mourinho, like that sort of team where they sort of edge out the final, they sort of edge to the 90th minute. Then it's sort of a lottery which way it's going to fall. I mean, it's disappointing because this England squad, I think, if you went through it man for man, most people probably put us as our squad got more talent than that Spain squad. It's just the fact that I think Southgate, he's perhaps haunted a little bit by the ghost of his past, where he's feeling he needs to go back and revert to that sort of hardness, that sort of edging out attitude to the game, where he just needs to see it out. And that Pickford moment where he smashes it out the pitch just sort of embodied that for me. And I think that's why the goal comes. I mean, although it is Walker's fault slightly, in my opinion, it's not just his fault. It's the whole team and the manager as well. It stems from the top. Getting yourself in that position. That goal wasn't against the run of play by any means. The last 5-10 minutes, we really surrendered the momentum of the game. Since Palmer's goal, I felt that we were on top. We might even get another goal here, and it got to the point where I think we got a bit panicked, and we got a bit of the idea that we should just sort of see this out now, and extra would be a bad idea. And I think that was a bit of a mistake from Southgate and England.
Yeah, no, I do completely agree. Ian, do you think when we got that equaliser, we have touched on it, but do you think we have to push on, build from that momentum and try and find a way to win it in normal time? Because it wasn't there, 3-4 minute spell. Was Spain were rattled, a few passes going astray.
Absolutely.
That is when in football you go for it, surely. And I've been quite defensive of Southgate, but you have to go, handbrake off, let's build on momentum.
Do you know, you look at boxing and you just landed a punch and the guy's gone down. Do you just go back into your own corner and sit back and wait, or do you go and try and finish it? To me, that's the perfect analogy. We did have them on the ropes. We were attacking it, and at that point you think there's not that long to go. Let's go beat them. Let's go out and beat them. But we didn't get a quick goal, and then all of a sudden we're going back. And as I say, we were suddenly defending our own 18-yard box. And this has all come back down to the psychology and the way the players play, and the manager, the way he wants his teams to play. I actually think it's really sad, although to some extent, if because remember we talk about the second half, England were pathetic in the first. I mean, really looked like doing anything with the ball at all. I mean, I called it on a chat group. I mean, you know, Southgate's anti-football's back. Whereas I actually thought after the Netherlands game we would really go out and give it a go, because he showed what we could actually do when we took teams on. No. Yeah. I thought we should have gone for it. I thought that was the opportunity. The Spanish were absolutely, as someone said, they're absolutely rattled. They were panicking. They suddenly didn't know what happened. That's when the proper teams absolutely put their foot on your throat, and they don't let it go. You look at any of the really good teams you've played against. You know, I know the great Liverpool teams of the 80s, or you know, the Manchester City teams, or you know, even the Man United teams under Ferguson. You know, once they had you, they put their, as I say, they put their foot on your throat, and they didn't let it go until they'd beaten you. That's what the great teams do. There's a lot of the. It wouldn't matter if we weren't a great team, Harry. That's the point. We're not a great team, but we know we've got great players capable of much, much better. And that's why I'm so angry and so frustrated, because we came bloody close to winning a tournament. We played, let's be honest, total shit in. And if we'd have played half decent, we could have won it. But look, let's be honest. The best team in the tournament won it, and the better team on the night won it. And I'm at least consoled with that. But we weren't all over them for for an hour and a half, and they snuck one with a dodgy VAR penalty or something. They were better than us, but they didn't have to be. That's where my frustration is.
Yeah, no, I understand your frustration. That's fair enough. Alfie, I will come back to you because it finished 2-1 Spain, sadly. Was it a case of the better team won on the day and the best team in the tournament brought it home? Because Spain, 7 out of 7 wins.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think the minute you watch Spain in the first game, I watched them sort of throughout the whole tournament, that they were incredible. They're as a team, they're cohesive, they work. And I mean, I think they have their manager was the under-21s manager, and his faith in the youth did really show. I mean, he made a big move bringing in Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal. He just chucked them straight in. He went, "We're going to play these two wingers, and that is going to be our approach." And he was brave with it, and that decision, and he was brave with his team selection and the way they played the whole tournament, and it paid off. They really did deserve it. And by any means, I said earlier, their team on paper isn't better player for player than ours or a lot of teams in that tournament. They defeated Germany, who I think maybe had better players than them, and France, who 100% had better players than them. But they went out there and they were brave. And as a football fan, that's the sort of football I like to watch. I mean, Spain were the neutrals' favourite until they came to the final, when obviously they played England. I mean, me watching them, I enjoyed watching them. They're the sort of team I'm going to turn on and watch the games for. It was a tournament based off of a lot of tired players, in my opinion. The season's very long. But Spain didn't have. They had a few players in the Premier League, which I think has the most intense and hardest league to play in, fitness wise. But I think the fact they didn't have overly a high amount of Premier League players played into their hands a little bit. I mean, Rodri came off in the final at half time because I think he was injured, and that speaks volumes for me. And I think Spain were 100% the best team in the whole tournament. They cruised for their group, which is probably the hardest group in the tournament as well. And barring Georgia, they probably had the hardest run to the final as well. So yeah, as you said, as Ian said, the fact that we lost to the best team in the tournament and the best team of the night is a bit of a consoling factor, because that is inarguable for me. They were outstanding, and fair play to them with an unknown manager really, and an unknown bunch of players in their squad that all really stood up and they stepped up in the big moments as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a bit different feel to Italy, where I felt we were the better team. I think we were hard done by. You can question some of the decisions. Whereas you look at this and go, you know, it was Spain were good. I thought we done okay, regardless of the way that maybe we set up. I think the referee done very well. And there isn't that kind of hate towards Spain there was when there was Italy. Go for it.
Don't gloss over that. The referee was outstanding last night. People always criticise referees, and I say that as someone who used to be one. So I don't like to interrupt you. The referee
Go
was
for it.
outstanding last night, and when referees are great, people don't notice. Only notice them when they're crap. Referee had an
Exactly.
outstanding. The French produce great referees consistently. So yeah, good point. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
No, thank you very much. No, it's important, isn't it, generally, because, I get it, in the heat of the moment, we all get annoyed with officials and that. But if you look back, they have a very hard job, and I think they do very well. I think throughout the tournament, we've seen a better level of refereeing, unless it's come to English referees. I think then it's been a little bit let down, to be honest with you. But generally, throughout the tournament, it's been very good, very smooth, very efficient, and put the Premier League to shame, ultimately, in terms of the level of officiating and the speed as well that it's done from VAR as well. But yeah, there we go. Kallum, are you under the same impression that the best team won on the night? It hurts, of course it does, but they were very good.
Yeah, I think we have to be honest with this one, that Spain on the night deserved it more. They played like they wanted it. Realistically, we didn't. And one of the most concerning stats that I saw today was that in the last 2 Euros finals, Kane has had one touch in the opposition box in 180 minutes, nearly in 2 games. So, I mean, when your captain isn't even leading from the front, what does that say? So, I mean, yeah, it's one of them where De La Fuente got him playing well. He's put faith in the team. The Spanish people are behind him, and that he outclassed Southgate's team. He showed that Spain were definitely the driving force for it. And I hate to say it, but I mean, yeah, Spain just were the better team, and England they made us look like a minnow nation the way that we played last night, to be honest. And if Pickford hadn't have been the way that he was, we probably should have lost that 4-5-0 before we even got the goal,
yeah.
I think. So, I mean, when you're going into a final and you're saying that apart from 1 or 2 individual players who turned up for a team who are meant to be one of the best in Europe, it shows that we are still nowhere near bringing football home, no matter how much we sung about it and cheered and went on. It's all in the mind. It's mind over matter, and the problem is matter freaking won last night. That's the problem for it. So if there was a way to turn back time, then I think Southgate may. Would he change anything? No. So we definitely deserve to lose it, to be honest, mate.
Yeah. It's an interesting point about Harry Kane, Kallum, and Harry and Alfie, that it's not just these 2 European finals. You look at the number of finals and semi-finals he's been in for England, for Tottenham, and now for Bayern, and what influence has he had on any big game?
No, it's true.
He's not, you wonder what, because these guys all work with, I'm talking about the penalties against the Netherlands. You looked at how positive they were and what have you. A lot of work gone on with sports psychologists, I think, with the way they took those penalties, the deep breaths and what have you. A lot of work. Harry Kane, big game player. Nah, he's not, is he? Doesn't deliver on the big stage. Whatever, Tottenham's all-time leading goal scorer beat Jimmy Greaves. England's all-time top goal scorer beats Bobby Charlton. Great, two of the greatest players that ever played the game, and yet not a big game player. Flat track bully. I don't know. Just doesn't do it on the biggest stage, and it's a problem for him. It's a problem for the teams he's in.
No, fair enough. That is my next point, actually. So, Alfie, I will come to you. And it is do you feel for Harry Kane? Because he's obviously very close with Spurs, 2 Euros finals with England. He's moved to Bayern. I mean, Bayern win a trophy every year of some kind, usually the league, usually a cup competition sometimes as well to go with it, or as well as etc. But they haven't won a trophy this year. He's not getting any younger. There's no secret. We don't know when will be his last tournament for England. If that might have been the last tournament, we just don't know. That's the reality. So do you feel for him? But also bearing in mind, I think Ian's right. He maybe doesn't turn up to the big stage. So where do you feel in terms of the Harry Kane talk?
Yeah, I do feel for him massively. I mean, he's probably one of, or if not the best striker of his generation, and he's not lifted a trophy, which I think is extremely unlucky for him. I mean, Bayern Munich this year is almost comical the way how he's not been able to pick up a trophy there. That's why he went. That's why he left Spurs. That's where he's gone. Although I do disagree a little bit with the point Ian made there that he's not a big game player. I mean, I think he's been a tad unlucky. If you look at the squad that he's got to the final with, some of them he has drove to the final. So I know the Denmark game he scored that goal. I know it missed, but he followed it up straight away. The Netherlands game he scored the penalty that ultimately dragged England back into the game. That he had to fight off a lot of demons for, because you think the last one he took was for England in the quarterfinal of the World Cup where he missed. Obviously, Saka scored his in the shootout and Kane scored his in the Netherlands game. And I think both should get equal commandments for how they did in that. I think Kane's fired a lot of his teams to the final, and unfortunately, the teams that he's fired to the final haven't been very good. I mean, I think of that Tottenham team in the League Cup final against Man City. That was a team that had just been taken over by Ryan Mason. We all know what happened there, really. But the squad itself was very poor. That squad has now been basically pulled apart in the following years. I mean, Gareth Bale was hardly even used in that final as well. A Gareth Bale that was on flames for Spurs in that recent period of games going up to the final. It was mismanaged. A Champions League final was no means the best Spurs team under Pochettino either. That was very, very, very inferior to the Liverpool side that ultimately won that final. I think he's been a bit unlucky, really. And this final, I think, without a doubt in my mind at the moment, he's not fit, and that is why I feel for him a little bit. I think he's been unlucky, and as Ian said, he does get brushed with the stroke of being not a big game player or being someone who's going to be trophyless in his career. I think he will pick up a trophy, but I just hope he's at the age where he's still effective and he's still at his prime where he can affect the game, and he deserves a trophy. He's been unbelievable for Spurs, unbelievable for England, and I think he gets a lot of unfair criticism, really. And I don't think it's necessarily just him that's demanding to play these whole games in the Euros. He's probably had an agreement with Southgate to play just over a half, because you don't bring Kane off after 60 minutes, even if he's being terrible, which I don't think he has been for the whole tournament. There's been a few games where he has been pretty good. I think the Netherlands game, perhaps because Watkins scored that goal, the contrast in the way they both play got him a lot of unfair criticism as well. So I massively feel for Kane, and I think he will get his hands on a trophy soon. I think next year for Bayern Munich, I think he'll pick one up. I mean, the signing of Michael Olise and a few others they'll bring in undoubtedly will help them win the Bundesliga. That's almost a given in my mind.
My point is, I think he's been conning people. I think he's been unfit. I think he was unfit for the Champions League final. I think he was unfit for this tournament. You don't take Harry Kane off after an hour in a tournament, in a cup final. You just don't. He's not that bad unless you know he's not fit. That's my real complaint. I don't think he was ever fit to play in this tournament. And that's why we took 4 centre forwards, because we knew he would start and he wouldn't finish games.
I agree, but I don't think it's. I think if you ask any player if they want to play for their nation or their team, they're half fit or completely fit, they're always going to take up the opportunity. So I don't think it's Kane's fault really at all. He's a joint top goal scorer at this tournament, with basically half a Kane. He's not fully fit, and he's still picked up 3 goals. He's done all he could. I think the criticism of him is just for this tournament, but I believe it's a bit unfair that he's obviously going to go and play. Southgate's going to want him to go, half fit or not. And he's been unlucky for 2 tournaments now. And I do hope that he gets his reward, because the amount of goals he gets, he is unfairly criticised in my opinion. Apart from obviously when he is unfit, obviously his performance is going to drop off, and that's just a natural thing. But I don't think you can blame him for starting, because ultimately it's the manager's decision as much as his that he starts the game.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think that poor decisions have been made, but at the same time, we look at the Champions League final, we look at England in the final against Spain, right? It's one of them that, let's imagine Harry Kane doesn't start either for them. The backlash that both managers have received, if the result stayed the same in both of them, is off the scale. In particular, what Mauricio Pochettino would have achieved in that 2019 Champions League final. You haven't played a our best ever striker, and blah, blah. It would have been absolutely crazy. And it makes sense, doesn't it? When you don't play Harry Kane in the final, you know, when you put it like that, it makes sense.
You lose either way, don't you? You're either going to get pelters from the fans saying, "Oh, you haven't started your top scorer or your club captain," but then if you do start him and you lose the game, you're then going to get pelters for that as well. So I mean,
the headlines would be this morning if Kane didn't start. Southgate leaves England's record goal scorer out and loses the final. It doesn't look good, does it? If you go back and look in 3 or 4 years' time, or even longer than that, and you look back a decade or so's time, and you go, "We lost that. What's our best player doing on the bench?" It just doesn't. It wouldn't quite sit right, if you know what I mean. So I think it's a lose-lose situation either way.
Instead, TalkSport's headline was player rating Harry Kane 1 out of 10, and you just think you're a bunch of dicks anyway. So I mean, you just need to go away with your player ratings. But I mean, you can't go one way or the other. If Watkins has started and he'd have been as poor as he was when he came on, it's one of them. It's just a scapegoat, and I think the whole England team didn't perform yesterday. It just happened that Kane came off first because he did look the most leggy out of all of them. And ironically, everyone's going to blame Kane for doing nothing. But to be honest, in that first half and that first 60 minutes, did anyone actually really create anything for Kane? Not really, because that's why he was having to drop so deep to try and make something happen. And I mean, he got a bloody yellow card. You don't get a yellow card as a striker unless you do something really rash, or you have to be in a position where you're not meant to be. And that was from him having to stop a counter in the centre. So I mean, it's such a idea from the top going downwards that Southgate got it wrong, Kane got it wrong, that if you played, our players didn't play for the badge, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. We're all going to have different opinions, but at the end of the day, we lost the game. Simple as that. We got beaten by the other team, didn't we?
Yeah, no, I think so. It is just as simple as that. Before we go into Gareth Southgate, his future and his in-game management and that throughout the tournament, player of the tournament for England. So I'm going to go around the panel in no particular order. So be thinking about who your player of the tournament is for England. Kallum, we will start with you.
It's hard to say, to be honest. I don't think there was really much, but maybe Mark Gahey. I think he was pretty good.
Yeah, that'd be my choice.
Yeah,
I think he's been really good. Yeah, we go with that. The way we play defensively, I think he's been very, very good, especially in that group stage. I think that could be a different situation that's going through. It sounds crazy to say, but it could have been a different situation with some of these last-minute blocks, etc. When there was a time where there was a lot of worry, or for myself in particular, but a lot of other England fans about our defence. And I think Mark Gahey kind of eased those worries. And then the conversations are more about who starts up front and that. Whereas really, if you think about it, that team selection after that, a week or two after, the worry for England fans was that defence. And that was quickly solved by Mark Gahey. So that's credit to him for that. Alfie, who are you thinking?
I think I go for Jordan Pickford. I think I agree that Gahey is definitely up there. I just think Pickford consistency. He obviously played the one more game than Gahey as well because he got the suspension. But Pickford, I think the whole tournament and for most of his England career is outstanding. I mean, his penalty save goes a bit underrated because of how good the penalty he took were. That he doesn't really get the credit he deserves for that because obviously if he doesn't save the penalties, then the ones that are scored doesn't really mean anything. And in that final as well, he was very unlucky that we lost that game because he was superb. He was the best player on the pitch, which probably says a lot about our performance as a team. But Jordan Pickford is definitely my player of the tournament. He's been playing, unreal the whole tournament, and I can almost not fault him really.
No, it's a very good shout, Alfie, and he's done his bit, whether it be the Euro 2020 final, saving 2 penalties. That's all you can do, really, as a goalkeeper. You mean, you don't take that many penalties, save 2 penalties. That is doing your job, and he's done his job throughout the tournament. So, that's promising, I suppose, if you look forward. Obviously, Pickford, I think, still got a little while left. I think that, we've got to remember, even coming into this tournament, there's a lot of questions. Should Pickford be the number one? Obviously, didn't set the world alight with Everton. Is it time to see someone else in goal? But, he's stuck with Pickford, and I think that has been the right decision because he's performed for the country. It's like Harry Maguire as well. Okay, again, has struggled at times for Man United. Has been good for England. When he's fit, you've got to base it on what they've done for the country as well as how they're performing for teams. I think Southgate's done well to bear that in mind. Ian, who are you leaning towards? You've got Mark Gay and Jordan Pickford so far.
I was thinking before the boys started talking Gooey or Pickford. So I'm not gonna give you one or the other because I think they both did great things. When you think about this England team over the last couple of years, Harry, we've talked about how great our attack is, but how many goals are we going to concede? If all right, we conceded 2 in the final, but our best players, we're talking about a goalkeeper and a defender and a centre half. And I think that tells you everything about what's gone wrong for England in this tournament. When you've got Harry Kane, when you've got Bukayo Saka, when you've got Jude Bellingham, when you've got Foden,
Cole Palmer.
Great, Cole Palmer, Ollie Watkins. I mean, any number of real quality forward players. And we're talking about the central defender, an emerging central defender at that, and the goalkeeper, who we've questioned whether was a really top international keeper. Therein lies the problem, guys. Seriously, therein lies the problem. The flair players haven't delivered or haven't been able to deliver because of the system that they're being asked to play. So I'm not going to separate the boy Gooey. I'm delighted for him because I think he's emerged as players always do in these big tournaments. You find a player from somewhere that you didn't know. I mean, we all knew Gooey, but he's suddenly become, I suspect an absolute stick on first choice, maybe for the best part of 10 years for England now. Thought he was, he was exceptional. I'll go with Gooey if I have to choose between the two. I thought he was fabulous. Looked so composed. And the thing I liked about him is even when he made mistakes and gave the ball away, there was something Ledley-like the way he chased back and won the ball, which I really liked. So I'll go with Gooey, but I'm pleased for Pickford as well because he wears his heart on his sleeve and he gets a lot of stick. But as I say, the fact that we're talking about whether it was the goalkeeper or whether it was the centre half says a lot about this England side and why I'm so disappointed tonight.
No, I understand that. I understand that completely. I think Lois makes a good point. Lois says in the YouTube chat, Mark Gay, he has been the best, but I also think Kobbie Mainoo should be in the conversation. I think that he's been very good. So, I think we do have to add him to that conversation. I think that he's come in and really done his job. And I think that, that midfield position was a worry. At the start of the tournament, Mainoo come in and offered that stability that was needed so we could focus on other areas. And I think that kind of clicked in nicely, a very important period. But this is the time where I do want to get on to Gareth Southgate. And because I don't want it to be a Southgate blasting session, because we have got to another final and we did give Spain a run for their money. So Kallum, I'll start with you. I know how you do feel about Southgate, but trying to put that aside, has he transformed England? Remember when he come in, we're talking about a team that struggled to get to the quarterfinals, got to the semi-final of the World Cup, quarterfinal of the World Cup, and back-to-back Euro finals. Has he transformed England?
He's definitely made England a much better organisation. The setup is much stronger than it was when he came in. I mean, when he came in, who was it for him? Big Sam. So it was a shambles and a half if you look back to there. But have we progressed as far as I thought we would have done? Probably not. I think we are in a stable position. We're not in a winning position. We're kind of just keeping our head above water. We've gone at the big teams, but shown we're not one of the big teams. That's the thing. And I think that Southgate is not a winning manager. He is a man management manager. He can keep people happy. He's a people pleaser. I think that's the best way of putting it.
Good description.
And the way from his tactics, it plays into his select few who are his favourites and who he probably doesn't want to rub up the wrong way, if you think about it. But no, I think that if he does go, he has taken us to finals, semi-finals. There has been good times, there's been bad times. So I won't be saying that he should stay on, but I won't be like sticking a knife between his shoulders either, saying, yeah, put two fingers up at you and say, get out of here and all that. I think he's definitely made people believe again in England. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice way of putting it. I think that that it's respect, but you thought we could have done better. I think that's fair enough. When you have, as a manager, when you have 8 years, and you look at some of the players, I get people's frustration when you haven't won anything. I just think the context is important. Ian, again, obviously you have been critical of Southgate, and I think you've justified your points really well. But has he kind of transformed England? Does he deserve more credit at times?
Look, I'm a fair bit older than you guys, so I'm just not old enough to have remembered the World Cup in '66. But there's been a fair bit of famine from then till to when we got to the finals of what was that 2018 was it against Croatia. So the last 6 years have been pretty successful. There's just that feeling in me that it could have been so much better. And it's easy to criticize from here. We're all armchair experts. I guess that's why we come on these shows and do it. But I wish we had access to the kind of props and films that the pros in the BBC and the Sky television studios have. There was a moment, the Aston Villa guy that came on, left back, can't remember his name. Hell, it was against Malta at Wembley, and we're whatever up. And it's one of those silly moments where Malta get the ball. The defender has it. He's like 30 yards from goal, his own goal, back to facing his own goal. And instead of the guy starts to press and he stops and he goes back. And it's one of those silly moments. I'm going, someone has coached you to do that. Risk and reward football. And you're playing Malta. You win the ball 30 yards from goal there with Kane and Saka or whatever ahead of you. The chances are you're going to score. Even if you don't win the ball, the chances of you conceding are minuscule. And that to me, a sort of, and I'm going back a couple of years, but that in a nutshell for me was, this is how these players are coached. And you see time and again, they get a goal and they go back into their shells. So to me, I think we've got to try something different. These are still great players. And even if you say, oh, Harry Kane's been the best of his generation, and then suddenly you go, yeah, but hang on, if Kane fell under a bus tomorrow, you've got the choice of Tony, Watkins and Palmer to take his place. I mean, what country has that kind of riches to fall back on? So my view is that we're at the end of the road with Southgate. I think the point that's been made is, the FA like a special kind of manager. Again, sorry, doing my old man bit. There was a clamour in the 70s for Brian Clough to be given the job, an absolute clamour. They wouldn't give Clough the job because he was controversial, he was mouthy, and what have you. So he didn't get the job. Similarly, when left, it wasn't Sven, was it? There was a clamour for Harry Redknapp to get the job, but maybe Harry and his reputation for being a bit of a spivvy doesn't like that, but that's his reputation. The FA thought maybe they know things that we don't, but again, Harry was probably the outstanding candidate. He didn't get the job, and I think Southgate, he's the quintessential England manager. As I said before, he's intelligent, he's articulate, he dresses well, he speaks well. He's exactly what the FA want as a PR manager. the fact that he's far from an outstanding coach doesn't seem to bother them as much as it bothers us as fans. I mean, I'll put in two names because you want to maybe go on to, well, if it's not Southgate, who? But I hope Gareth says thanks very much, because the FA, I suspect, will put pressure on him to stay. That Gareth says, thank you very much. I've had a great run. It's now time to let someone else take on the mantle.
You might well do that. Who knows? I think that the FA will be keen to get him to stay on. I understand that to extent, obviously, away from what we see from the football pitch, as you've explained there, but also when you get to back-to-back finals, I understand that it's the easy option. Whether it's the right option or not, who knows? I think, there's only so much we know. I think it depends on the individual, the way you look at it. If you're close to Southgate, you probably know a little bit more than we do, but maybe you have bias. I don't know. It all depends the way you look at it. Alfie, where do you stand on Gareth Southgate? Should he stay on for you? Does he deserve more credit?
Yeah, I think people need to remember it's possible to be both appreciative of Southgate and also be critical of him as well. I think my earliest memories of football are for England are the 2014 World Cup. We went out in the group. We went out to a group that had Costa Rica in. People that don't remember it. And then the next tournament after was the Euros in 2016. We went out to an Iceland side that no one had heard any of their players of. Had a tiny population, smaller than Leicester at the time. If you remember when they just won the league, and there was uproar with Roy Hodgson in charge. And that's sort of my memories as an England fan. And their memories aren't too different to the ones that are people older than me as well. This has been going on for years, and Southgate has done a lot that people should credit him for changing that sort of attitude to England, changing that sort of expectations of England. In 2018, he had a very, very poor squad in relation to the whole of the rest of the tournament, and he took them very far. And he took them probably as far as they could do in the semi-final. Maybe could have reached the final, but I think there's a sort of a knife edge because we wouldn't have won the final anyway, in my opinion. Then the next tournament after, in the Euros, he took a slightly better team to the final. We were unlucky not to win that. And the World Cup afterwards, obviously, I think he was unlucky that Kane miss. We sort of, in my opinion, I think we sort of went out to the best team in the tournament then. I know Argentina won, but I think France were probably the better team in the whole tournament. So I think people have got to appreciate what Southgate's done for England. He's done a lot. Although I do think this tournament perhaps is one too far. He's done very well up until now, but this tournament has sort of displayed his slight tactical imperfections. I think the past has haunted him a little bit. I think he's aware of what a squad we've got now compared to the squad we perhaps had a few years ago, and he's now perhaps feeling that pressure as well. I can understand his frustration with, I mean, the beers being thrown in at the start of the tournament was obviously no one can condone that. That was awful. But I think the criticism from the wider public as well, I can understand him being a bit sort of annoyed about it, because he has taken this squad very far. He's taken this country very far in footballing terms. But I do think it's understandable, the criticism, because there's been times in the tournament where I have been screaming at the telly they need to attack more, they need to go forward more, and I think he's tried to change this tournament to become more of a Mourinho, a winning manager that has a bit of that pedigree, and he's trying to mirror that sort of negative football that's, in my opinion, outdated. It doesn't win tournaments anymore, and he's gone too far with this team now. That he's brought in a very good bunch of players. But they are ready for the next manager, in my opinion. He's done very well. I would like to see him lift the trophy yesterday, because I think he deserves it. It's a shame that I think he will leave now, in my opinion, without having a trophy, because I think personally what he's done to English football, he deserved one. But that's the way football is. It's a harsh game. But I think if he goes, he should go with his head held high, and people should clap him off for what he's done, and bring in the next manager, which is going to be who we don't know at the moment, but whoever the next manager comes in, he's built a great foundation for the next manager to come in and I think win a tournament for England.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can want him to go, but I think generally we have to appreciate what he's done. And things like throwing beer cups is, I don't want to get into it, but it really does frustrate him, because his entitlement at his finest, and that's ultimately for me the issue. And those same people were the ones that were never to be seen when we're knocked out by teams like you said, Alfie, Costa Rica, then Iceland in 2016. They were non-existent. They were quiet, and that's.
I think my frustration is that this team and these players could have achieved so much more. That's the disappointment for me. We talked about the golden generation with the Beckhams of this world that didn't quite deliver. But these players consistently are really, really good. And the question I'll put back to people in the chat and my fellow panelists is, if we'd had a different manager, do you think we could have won this tournament? Because
No.
I defy anybody to say, and I'll give you two names that have been linked with a job now, Eddie Howe and Jurgen Klopp, or even Maurizio Pochettino. Do you believe we'd have had more chance or less chance of taking this trophy if either of those three or any of those three were the England manager?
Wow.
Yeah, I know it's a big question. It's a big question, but I think with the right coach and the right tactical approach, we could have won that tournament, and that's why I'm frustrated. Could have won.
I'll answer the question first. I think that this tournament, there's a possibility, yes. If you'd asked me like Euro 2020, I would have gone no. I don't think any other manager could have done it. I think Southgate done very well, took us further than I thought that we would go. But in this, we've probably done what's expected. But that's credit to Southgate, changing mentality from can we get to a quarterfinal to we're expected to go to the final. That's credit on him and his coaching staff. I find it hard. I think that Eddie Howe would have done a similar job. I don't think he would have brought it home. He probably got us to semi-final, final. Pochettino, I think, is a really good manager. Whether he would have got on with some of the England players, I don't know. But if anyone had brought it home, probably would have been Pochettino. Klopp, I really like, but I think needs a lot of time wherever he goes. That's the thing, Ian. It depends whether they're coming in and then the tournament straight away. Because I think Klopp, Pochettino, they need a year to implement their way of play. Look at Chelsea. It just clicked into gear towards the end of the season. Eddie Howe, I don't think quite needs that time. I don't think Southgate's needed that time. So I'm going to say no, which would be quite unpopular, and that's credit to how Southgate's done. But again, we just don't really know, do we? That's the thing.
Yeah, I'll answer next. I think I think this is the only tournament out of the four he's had where I do think perhaps we had the best squad in the tournament. If you look on paper, we had the best team. And I do think maybe if we had a different manager this specific tournament, we might have won the tournament this time around. However, none of the managers that you've listed there, the three, the Howe, Klopp, and Pochettino, I don't think either of them could have done what Southgate's done up until this point. So I think certain managers serve certain purposes, and perhaps Southgate's served his purpose, and this tournament was one too far for him. So I don't think any other managers could have done what he's done in that transition period from 2018 to now. But yeah, I agree. On paper, perhaps this tournament we had the best team, and Southgate perhaps held that back a little bit and kept the handbrake up a little bit. And whereas a Klopp or a Pochettino might have approached it differently and had that extra winning edge that we would have got over the line on Sunday, really.
Yeah, fair enough. Kallum, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll probably echo what the other guys have said. I think Pochettino, the only time he's won anything was when he's been given a team of winners, and he's only won the French league. So I mean, it's not really much to hit home about, because if PSG don't win it, then you get sacked, or if you manage to pay someone off in the hierarchy, which isn't that hard out there. Klopp, maybe the Klopp of 3-4 years ago may have done something, but he's spent and burnt out. I think probably one of the only people that I could see maybe who would have won it with England, like how they are now, maybe Guardiola, someone like that. But it's so hard at the end of the day. What's done is done. Southgate has done his bit. Yeah, he probably had one of the strongest teams on paper. There are probably players in that squad that I wouldn't have touched with a barge pole. And there was people that he left home who I think could have made a difference compared to others. But it's why he's paid to be a manager, and it's why, like what Ian said earlier, we sit here and we sit in our couches and do these podcasts. We play Football Manager. We do all of this stuff, and it's all well and good for us to comment and all that. But it's why he has them difficult jobs, and it just happens that it just didn't come off. So, yeah, it's so difficult, and it shows that there are a lot of good managers out there. Whether they're going to come to England, I honestly don't know, to be honest, mate. And Southgate's the best manager that I've seen in my lifetime, because I've been through Capello, Big Roy, Allardyce for one game, Gareth for.
So you make me laugh, and I like it.
I'm just trying to think who it was
No.
before Capello. Was it Sven before
Sven, I
Capello?
think, yeah.
Yeah, so I had the later years of Sven as well, back to like, I mean, I was born in 97 and I started watching football around 2001, 2002. So, I mean, it puts into context that Southgate is probably the most continuous one that I have seen. But all them years ago, I wanted Redknapp, to be honest. Maybe if you get Redknapp now, maybe he could do something. He'd teach him how to survive in the jungle. Maybe that'd help him. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so George Galloway's looking for a job as well. Barney, if you're still on the chat, by the way, whereabouts in Spain are your parents? As I say, because I'm in Spain, I have a little place here, and a lot of English people out here and what have you. So anyway, sorry. Yeah, go on. You probably want to bring Kallum in anyway.
No, that's completely fine. Where I do want to finish off is in-game management in the tournament. So, Kallum, yeah, I will actually come to you. Where do you stand? Because I was speaking to someone the other day, and we had the polar opposite views on Gareth Southgate's in-game management. Where do you think he's been this tournament with that, impacting games, making subs early, etc.?
50-50 on it. Some of the time he's got it right, like in the Slovenia game, like in the Holland game, stuff like that. But some of the other games where he's left it, I mean, yesterday they were the wrong timings. If he saw the game going at 60 minutes, should have made 3-4 subs, made an impact, given more time. Don't bring on Tony at 88 minutes to try and force something to happen. I would say that the weakness of his management style is his in-game management, because he doesn't seem to preempt. He reacts, but he doesn't react even quick enough. That's the thing. He tries to trust his team, and he tries to hammer it home. And it's only when shit hits the fan and literally it looks like that he's going to be dragged into the crowd by his bloody waist jacket that he makes something happen. But I think there's been good times in this tournament, bringing on Palmer, bringing on Eze, bringing on Watkins, change games, bringing on Tony for the penalty shootouts. You have to give him credit for that, because he did see what was going on and he made it happen. It's the time for me. If you're going to make subs, good managers and winning managers like Guardiola, like Mourinho, like Conte, they make subs 55, 60, 65 minutes. When you look on average, Gareth Southgate's average substitutions are 72 to 78 minutes and all that. That gives you 12 minutes plus added time to impact a game. It doesn't stack up. But it's what Pochettino used to do to frustrate me at the end of his Spurs tenure as well. But it may be that you don't have faith in your squad as well, that you don't trust them. You only trust the players on the pitch and maybe one or two others. So it is difficult, but definitely his in-game management is the weakness of his management time for England, at least at this tournament.
No, okay, fair enough. Alfie, where do you stand with his in-game management? Because I think that generally it's probably let him down. But I think there's been times where he's acted really quickly and has made a difference. As Kallum said, it probably is 50-50 if you think about it.
Yeah, I think the only criticism I'd have with him is his in-game management would be the fact that he is, as Kallum said, a bit reactive rather than proactive. But I think you caveat that by the fact that his substitutes, especially this tournament, have been immaculate. I mean, almost every time he's brought someone on, they've either impacted the game completely or scored. And I mean, that you can't really argue with. I'm not actually sure if he brought them on before the other team scored, which is what he's tended to do. He's tended to bring on players after the other team scored if the substitutes would have the same impact, because it's sort of that they come on with the same time that the momentum has to switch with us. and I think that sort of benefits the team. I think the main issue is perhaps his pre-game management. I think the fact in my mind that sort of made an issue the whole beginning of the tournament, which perhaps sort of swirled negativity around Southgate as well, was he didn't know his midfield. He was a real issue at the start of the tournament that wasn't really discussed enough, was with the midfield. I think Mainu against Iceland, he didn't have the best game, but in my opinion, I think Southgate perhaps he caved to the public criticism to Mainu. There was a few people saying he's too young, he's too inexperienced, and after that game, I was at the game myself at Wembley. I don't think he was that awful to be dropped. I think he's now reverted back to Mainu in the midfield, and I think perhaps that's where he's been a little bit weak in the management pre-tournament. But I think in game, there's not much you can criticise him with, because yeah, as I said, all the substitutes he's made, they've come off. I just think the pre-game, the midfield not getting right, and perhaps also the struggling to play against low blocks and the formation. There's a few things before he'd played the games where he seemed a bit indecisive, or he hadn't figured out his best team, in my opinion. He didn't figure out his best formation and his best midfield, and I think that cost him the team's fluidity and the momentum we gained as a team. We only started to get momentum since the Switzerland game and the penalty shootout. Netherlands was a lot better because he'd figured out what he wanted to do with the midfield and the formation, and the lack of momentum is what I think cost us a little bit, because Spain had all of it, winning 7 out of 7, and we could have done that if he had Mainu and 3-4-3 at the start, in my opinion.
No, fair enough. Thank you very much. Before we do wrap up, Ian, where do you stand with Gareth Southgate's in-game management? Has it been a massive problem?
No, the strange thing is I don't think his game management has been the problem. I think it's his tactics. He brought on Tony in the game, and he contributed to the late equaliser. Was that Slovenia? He brought Watkins on against the Netherlands, and he scored. I don't have a problem with his in-game management at all. I just think it's the defensive tactics that have been the problem for me. And I think it shows the fact that he's got such a great squad that he can bring on different players who can influence the game. Not every club manager, let alone international manager, has that luxury. So, no, I'm not critical of his in-game management at all. I'm critical of his tactics and his defensive play is like, let's not concede, rather than let's go out and win the game attitude. That's where my criticism of Southgate is.
No, I understand that. I understand that when you approach away negatively and you know that we're stronger in attacking positions. I do get people's frustration with that. Although I've defended him, and I would probably say to him, stay on. I'd probably say World Cup would be his last one, and whether he wins it or not, I think that after a while, things kind of stagnate, players lose interest, and you have to keep it fresh. But I wouldn't be opposed to him necessarily going. I just think that the more appreciation is needed in general from fans that throw beer cups, etc. But I think you all, summed up it very well, and very balanced views from all of you. So thank you very much. But I do think that wraps us up nicely for this evening. So thank you everyone who listened in, who put questions in, contributed throughout tonight. So yeah, thank you very much. If you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to smash the subscribe button. It's free to do so, and it helps the channel and the podcast grow. And if you are listening afterwards on a podcast platform, whether it be Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, or wherever, don't forget to drop us a follow and a 5-star review. It all helps the channel and the podcast. It's all free to do so, and very, very quick as well. A massive thanks to my panel as well. Alfie, who made his debut today, who absolutely smashed it. Alfie, where can people find you?
So on TikTok, it's at Alfie Nicholson Journalism, and on Instagram, it's at Alfie Nicholson Journalism as well. And then my Twitter is just Alfie Nicholson _.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for coming on. Go drop Alfie a follow. Ian, thank you very much for stepping in last minute. A couple of people that pulled out / didn't turn up. So thank you very much to you. Where can people find you?
No, it's a pleasure. I've been dying for a rant all day, and you've let me let off steam. Yeah, I mean, if people want to follow me, if you follow me on at Shaggy1712, I will always follow back my fellow Spurs supporters. I'm involved now with Tottenham Diehards Tottenham Till I Die channel. We broadcast on a Tuesday and a Sunday, so I'm involved with that. So you can find me there. And sometimes when people like Harry or anyone else says fancy doing a show and I'm around and I fancy a rant, I'll come on and do a rant. I'm not always right, but I'll always be interesting, Harry. I promise you that.
No, it's all I can ask for. So thank you very much, Ian,
Pleasure.
for coming on this evening. And Kallum, pretty much a regular now. Where can people find you and talk to people about Park Lane Podcast?
Cheers as always, mate. Yeah, so you are getting stuck with me more and more each week now. I think my next one's in August or September, something like that. I think I've got a break unless you give me a last minute call as always. So I'm like, Ian, I'll just pop up in random places and have a rant. But no, it's great as always, mate. And obviously good to meet Ian and Alfie on here.
Absolutely, you too.
I do Park Lane Podcast every Sunday with the guys. So we are starting to churn stuff up. We did miss our show last night because of the England final and probably because I was too pissed to even look straight. Let's put it that way. But I think they are live at the moment doing FIFA streams. So you can go out and check them out at the moment. But yeah, you can find me at Kallum Stubbs 97 on Twitter. You can find us at Park Lane Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, I think Instagram, and I believe we've got a TikTok, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, cheers H as always, and I'm sure I'll rear my ugly head at one point or another in the coming weeks.
Sure you will. Thank you very much to everyone. Thank you very much for coming on. No, that's not what I meant to say, but there we go. No, it's been a pleasure. And for now, come on England, and we have to say it on the show as well. Come on Spurs.
Working as a manager at Celtic Park when we met you. We picked you out, you shook us up and turned us around. You've turned us into something new. Ange Postecoglou, you know that we believe it when you say you're gonna change it. Ange Postecoglou, we're the mighty Tottenham and nobody's gonna stop them. Oh, he looks so fine in blue and lily white. And then he said to me, I'm from a land down under. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh.